Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to week 3 of the Switch Experience. If you've been with us the past couple weeks, we've been talking about emotions. What are they? Where'd they come from? How can we identify them? And then what does that mean to us? And we've also learned that God himself actually has emotions and cares about us a ton. So much so that he wants us to come to him with our emotions. God actually wants us to tell him what we're feeling and ask his help in sorting out our emotions. But then what? How are we supposed to know what to do with our emotions? Well, to get us started this week, let's take a look at some typical responses we have when we feel certain things.
Lame. Yellow.
Alex, your father's been in a terrible Ferris wheel accident. We're rushing to the hospital right now.
I've told him for years those things are death traps.
Just come as soon as you can.
I don't know, Mom. I'm pretty busy around here.
And of course, those clear skies mean not much cloud coverage on this hot summer day, so if you're going out, you'd better lather up that sunscreen. SPF 15, friends.
Oh my gosh! Okay, Alex. Pull it together. Nothing to worry about. Except possibly skin cancer being blinded by the sun's UV rays. Where's my bicycle? I gotta get out of here!
Well, none of us want to end up like that guy, right? But like we've talked about the last few weeks, even though sometimes our emotions don't always make sense to us, it's what we do with our emotions that really matter. But why? Why does what we do with our emotions matter? Who does it affect? Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to turn to 3 or 4 people around you and ask them the question, why does what we do with our emotions matter? And who does it matter to? Ready? Go ahead. All right, great job sharing your thoughts, you guys. You know, the truth is, I can think of a lot of points in my life where somebody said something to me that made me so angry, I literally wanted to hit them. And I knew that if I was going to avoid getting into a fight, there were more productive ways of handling my emotion than, smacking them around. But I didn't have the tools to deal with my emotion like anger. And unfortunately, a lot of the ways people told me to deal with my emotions felt like they weren't living in reality, or felt like they were living in a different time. Something like this.
Before men learned how to control fire and put it to work, it was man's greatest enemy. In much the same way, your emotions can be your own greatest enemy. Or under control, your emotions can make you healthier and happier and improve the lives of people around you. I think of fire in connection with emotions because when you become stirred up, when your emotions control your actions, it affects not only yourself, but the people around you. Nature endows us at birth with three general patterns of emotional response. Many things and people cause us to respond emotionally. A balance of emotions is important to a well-rounded personality. You can control the fire of your emotions. You can balance your emotions and use them so that your personality becomes more pleasant. And you and those around you are a great deal happier and healthier.
Okay, so that's really not all that helpful, is it? I mean, maybe it was helpful to kids in the 50s, I'm not sure, but right now it seems a little silly, right? So what do we do? I mean, where do we start? Like, what's a good first step that we can take when dealing with our emotions, especially emotions that are negative or painful? Well, the truth is, I think we make this more difficult than it needs to be. I mean, emotions are complex, for sure, but I think when it comes to a first step, I don't think it needs to be so complicated. Honestly, I can't think of a better first step to dealing with emotions going on inside of you than to tell them to somebody that you trust. But the truth is, that's not easy. We're really accustomed to telling people what we're doing. I'm really busy, or I got a lot going on at school, or I got that sports game coming up. And we never really stop and think, how are those things making me feel? I know for me, my big thing sometimes with emotion is I'll just kind of stuff it down. Especially if it's a really strong negative emotion, I'll just kind of stuff it down, pretend I'm not feeling it, pretend like everything's okay. So what about you? Who is somebody in your world that you trust to call or text them and tell them how you're really feeling? Maybe it's your leader at Switch, or maybe it's a parent, or maybe it's an older brother or sister that you really trust. So I want you to try something for just a second. I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and think of who that person might be in your life. I want you to write their name at the top of that page, and then right below that, I want you to write down what it is you feel like you need to share with them about what you're feeling. And then below that, I want you to write down the step that you need to take to make that happen tonight. Maybe it's that email or that phone call. Maybe you want to sit down with your parents tonight and say, listen, I want to be more honest with how I'm feeling with you. Whatever it is, write it down, and then finally, just do it. I know it's not easy. It's going to be hard, especially at first, but I promise you, it'll be worth it. Now, there's another great step that we can take when it comes to learning how to deal with our emotions. What's that step? Watch this next segment. Wow. We knew that God felt emotion, right? But did you know that God felt those kinds of emotions about you? That's amazing. And that changes things. I know for me, sometimes if I am getting tripped up by my emotions, or my emotions are really strong, or I'm not sure how to deal with them, sometimes it's really helpful just to think about how God feels about me. I try to remember the kinds of things God has said about me, like we just saw. Or sometimes I'll just stop and pray and ask God to tell me directly how he feels about me. I'm telling you, this has changed my life. Now, that doesn't mean I don't ever feel negative emotions, because I do. And it doesn't mean I always figure out how to deal with my emotions perfectly, because I don't. But when I stop and just consider how God feels about me, I'm telling you, something shifts inside of me. I start to see myself differently. I start to see my situation differently. I start to see my relationships differently. But instead of me just telling you how awesome it is, why don't we try it? Close your eyes. Do your best to slow your brain down. Take a few deep breaths. And as you do that, just ask God to tell you directly how he feels about you. It might be helpful to reflect on some of the words in the last segment. And as you do that, just say a short prayer, asking God to continue to help you deal with your emotions. After a few minutes, one of your leaders will close our time out in prayer.